All right. Well, it says we are live, so I'll wait for you guys to respond. If you can hear me, just let me know in the live chat here. And we'll wait for the video to catch up. Now, it's been a while. It's been, going on 4 weeks since we did our last stream. You guys know that I took a little bit of time off and just to kind of reevaluate the channel, kind of see what I wanted to do for 2018. And yeah, so we're back and we're ready to get started. I have a lot of questions that need to be answered that I got via email, as well as the comment section throughout the last couple of weeks. And let me fix the mic. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Should be good now. I just reset it. Of course, there's that delay.
Yeah, I hear better.
Is that better now? Okay, cool. Great. All right. So I will put the link. I already posted up on Patreon for those guys to come in and join the chat. If we don't get too many people coming in here, I'll go ahead and post that link for the live chat here. So if you guys want to come in and hang out and talk a little bit, we can. Yeah, guys, if at any point in time the mic starts getting scratchy, it's just kind of something that happens over time. Let me know. I will reset it and we'll keep going. Now, Jonathan, since you are in here, is there anything that you have for me before I dive into all the questions that I got during the email?
No, the only question was the little pump that you had on that video. Send it back to you. You had a little air when on the video that you're talking about the pH, how to increase your pH. You have a you added an air stone to a air pump. So which my question is, what air pump you have there, or you had?
Oh, okay, yeah, that was on the 125, one of the older videos, right?
Which one?
Yeah, it was on the 125-gallon reef. That is the video you're talking about with the air pump.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It was just a generic. Yeah, it was a generic 4-port air pump I got from Petco. It was about $35, and I actually used that air pump here on the quarantine system, and it works out just fine. If you guys are coming in, go ahead and hit the thumbs up on the video. I really appreciate it. It helps kind of spread everything around. So thanks for that. Yeah, so it's just a generic air pump. I like to use the wooden air stones just because it produces the smallest bubbles possible. But you just need to make sure that that air stone is actually away from your return line, because you'll get all those micro bubbles and stuff into the main display, and you want to avoid that if you can. Is it all you had regarding that question, Jonathan? Does that help? I think he is not muted. Anyways, what's up, Reef? Jeeves, how you doing, man?
What's going on, bud?
Not much. Did you change the name? Is that the new name you got going on here?
Yeah,
okay, I was like, the voice is good. I remember that, but I was like, the name is just different.
No, that's my name on a couple of local forums, so I just decided to go ahead and change everything up.
No, just to be consistent across the board, yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and actually put the link for the chat here in the comment section. So if anybody wants to join, you have some questions you want to chit chat, definitely join, check it out. I do have a whole bunch of questions that I got via email that I want to get to here in a second. I told people that I'll take care of it. But Bryce, do you have anything for me specifically before I get into that?
No, I'm good, bud.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to pull these questions up now. I actually went and through the comment section throughout this week, and I actually copied and pasted some of the questions over just to make it easier to take care of. Now I got to find those. We're going to start from the very top here. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 questions that I got. And if anybody wants to join in from the live stream here and ask your questions, we can kind of bounce back and forth on that. All right. So the first one here is from Kevin. What is your phyto dosing? Basically, back when I was dosing phytoplankton, and what is that schedule? He was trying to get a baseline idea where to start. Now, the thing you have to worry about with phytoplankton is it's very easy to overdose. If it is live when you put it in there, and there are benefits to having it in your tank. Now, I haven't personally dosed it in probably a year and a half, only because I just stopped making it. I didn't have the room. I actually moved that fish room around, or fish closet, to make it the frag tank room, so I didn't have the extra space to grow it. But it's definitely something that you could do, but you just have to do it in moderation. What I was told is to do a few tablespoons per day. Basically, what I was doing on the 125 was 5 tablespoons a day per that 180 gallons ish. And I didn't see any ill effects. Now, if you start seeing that algae growth or you're having like maybe cloudy waters turning green because it's starting to populate within the tank, then at that point you want to lower the dose. Now, the other question I usually get with phytoplankton is, do I need to dose it? Well, I've been very successful with tanks that have used it and have not. So it's really going to come up to your resources, how much you want to spend if you're growing it yourself. If you're out paying, $20, $30 a bottle just to dose it, I wouldn't think it's worth it. But if you are growing it on the side and you just want to utilize it, that's totally fine. Hope that answers your question, Kevin. See here. Bad link. Did it not work, Billy? Let me try it again. Let me try that link again. We're going to go into Google Hangouts. So we're going to click, copy, and paste. Billy, let me know if that works. Let's see. I mean, it should. It's directly from Google Hangout there. All right. So, Kevin, hopefully that answers your question with the phytoplankton. And we're going to move on. The next one here has actually got a few questions in it. It's from Richard. Says, my question has something to do, I've touched on before. It's about dosing 2-part in a mixed reef tank. He's using the ESVB bionic formula. He goes, my calcium is 450 and I hold it there and I dose 12 milliliters a day. My alkalinity is 7.8 DKH and I'm dosing 26 milliliters a day. Now, I've heard yourself say that corals extract the same amount of calcium alkalinity to build their coral structures, which is true. In that case, do I have to dose such a higher amount of alkalinity than calcium to keep that 7.8, or should I just leave it as is? Well, basically, that's true. Calcium, or basically corals pull out equal amounts of calcium and alkalinity to grow and build their coral structure or skeletal structure at that. And there's no reason for you to be dosing more alkalinity than calcium a day. What happens is over time, is the link is still bad? I don't know, guys. It's from the Hangout. I'll have to check it out here in a second. What happens if you dose unequal parts of calcium alkalinity in your reef tank, you're going to end up throwing off that balance. That's why you're having that fluctuation there or that difference. I recommend you go back to, if you're dosing 12 milliliters a day and you're keeping strong or steady with your calcium, try that with your alkalinity, or vice versa. If you want to dose the 26 milliliters of calcium a day alongside with your DKH or your alkalinity, do that. Either way, just try to keep them consistent, do the same amount, and over time, it will balance itself. Now, what you're going to do is don't test every day while you're making this transition. And better yet, if you have a consistent salt with a stable or say you have a DKH of 9 in your salt and a 420 calcium in your salt, go ahead and do a 30% water change today or for the next couple days. And go ahead and kind of get your parameters to kind of settle in there, and then start dosing equal amounts. Now I got a text message coming in here. Is there everybody who is having issues getting into the live stream, let me know, or getting into the Google live stream. There shouldn't be any issues here. I'm not seeing anything come up on my end. There is no request or anything like that. So if you guys are having issues, let me know. I'm gonna put the link again. Tell me what error you're getting when you're clicking on the link so I can fix it if possible. Other than that, hopefully that makes sense, Richard. Just dose equal parts every day. Your system will eventually balance out, because if you ended up dosing unequal parts, you're going to fall into the issue of it being unbalanced within the tank, and you're always going to be chasing numbers. So just dose equal amounts. And I will do an in-depth video on that down the road. All right, Matthew. I won't say any last names here, just in case you guys are worried about that. He goes, I have a question on Miracle Mud. Do I have experience with it, and is it worth the $10 a pound? Well, and he's also a veteran, so shout out to you, man. Appreciate it. And Miracle Mud, yes, I've used it in one build previously before the 125. And to be honest with you, I don't really feel that it's worth the $10 a pound. Yes, it does work. It does add those trace elements and stuff like that. But if you're feeding your fish consistently, you have a calcium reactor or you're dosing, or you have other supplements like the Red Sea Color Program, you're going to get those trace elements. Now, the mud does have stuff, of course, that those elements don't have. Is it worth the difference, or worth that amount, or that $10 per pound? Well, to be honest with you, I've been very successful without Miracle Mud more often than I was with that single build. So I'd go ahead and I look like people can get in here. Awesome. Ernest is in. I actually don't have to make it so I don't have the echo there. Is that better? Yep. good to go. Ernest, let me know when you want to talk, man, so I can make sure I unmute you because there was a little bit of echo there. And yeah, so is it worth the $10 a pound? I would not personally buy it. I would not spend $10 a pound. What I usually like to use in my refugiums is about 2 to 4 inches of sand, because I don't use sand in my main display. And that seems to help buffer the tank, and works out just fine. So I'm gonna leave it up to you, but personally, I don't really feel it's actually necessary to have it. So we got a couple more people in here. Did you guys just have an issue getting into the live stream? Was there an error or anything on your end?
No, I got in fine. I was just a little late.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because we've been having some errors and people are saying that they still can't get in.
No issue with me.
No, okay. And that was a direct link from the Patreon or the chat?
Patreon for me.
Patreon.
Patreon.
Okay. That's really weird then. I'm not sure why it wouldn't work in the chat. I'm going to keep going with the questions unless you guys have something specifically for me, Ernest, Noah, and I keep wanting to call you Reef Frenzy for some reason, but SC Reefer, you guys have anything for me?
I wanted to talk about, real quick, I wanted to talk about dosing copper. So
okay.
Do you dose copper no matter whether the fish is healthy or not?
Well, what I've been doing lately is any fish underneath under 3 inches, I won't dose with copper right away. I'll get the fish in.
Okay.
I'll get them in the tank and I'll let them sit for a couple days. At that point, I will go ahead and bring them down to hyposalinity and let them sit in there for their 4-week period. When the fish comes out, if he makes it through that 4 weeks without having that additional chemical, that copper stress, I'll go ahead and do a quick 1.5 to 2 weeks of a medium dose of copper, just to kind of finish off anything that might have been left over from the hypo. But other than that, that's for smaller fish. So for bigger fish, say I get in a hippo tank or something that's 6, 7, 8 inches, I will go ahead and do the half dose copper that stated that day, and then do the second dose the following day, and then do that 14-day period. Now, if the fish comes in with ick and it's already stressed out, I will not use any copper. I will go straight into hypo as quickly as possible. I know you can drop down to hypo within a day or two without any issues. It's bringing it back up is the what you need to take the time doing. So if a fish has visible signs of stress or of an illness, I will not use copper right away unless it's a much bigger fish, a much older fish that can take that additional stress with the copper. I just found that it just really does a lot of damage to smaller fish, especially when they've been kind of rushed around the world. They tend to get hit pretty hard with copper and don't make it. I've lost more fish using copper than I have hyposalinity, so I'm kind of leaning back to the hyposalinity wise.
Okay, so now once you use the copper in the system, once you take them out, and do you actually remove all the water from that tank and basically restart it again just to get all the copper out?
Well, the thing is, you'll never get all the copper out. As soon as I actually have 2 5-gallon buckets that have copper wrote on each, written on each side of them, and I have specific nets, specific sponge filter, specific tubing, all that kind of stuff for water changes. I even have a specific barrel that I dump the water in before dumping it outside. If it's ever touched copper, it can never touch your main display again, regardless of how, if you let it dry or rinse it off. It just is not something you want to do. So I always have a quarantine bucket. That's basically what I'm getting to, is I have 2 quarantine buckets, and that's where I keep everything. Now, when it comes to the tank, you can rinse it out all day. You can vinegar. It doesn't matter. The copper is going to seep into that silicone, and it's going to be there forever.
Got it.
So you're never going to want to put inverts or anything like that in there, because they will actually die.
Now, when you take the fish out, excuse me, do you dip it in like fresh RODI real quick and then put it into the tank?
When I get the fish out of like a copper treatment?
Correct.
Okay, what I'll do is I will, I have basically a Tupperware container, depending on the size of the fish, in one of those buckets. So what I'll do is I'll take the fish with a little bit of the water from the quarantine tank, and then I will drip some water from whatever display I'm putting it in into that container. And then I'll have a separate container that's just specifically cleaner with no copper in it, that I'll actually just have tank water in, and I'll remove the fish by hand, depending on the species, put it in that cleaner water to make sure there's no copper, and then put the fish in the tank. So there's a little bit of a 2-step process to get it in the tank without getting any copper into there.
Now there are more fish that are more susceptible to ick, like tangs and angelfish. Like a lot of it all depends on the species, right?
Well, yeah. Well, every fish can be can get ick. Every fish can get it. Now, I know that chromis and clownfish seem to be very hardy fish because they're part of the damsel family. There, they tend to not get it, and when they do get it, you know it's pretty bad because you know everybody else is going to have it before they do usually, and it's. I mean, basically, are you asking what fish do I recommend that are easier to take care of to avoid ick?
Yeah, I've always noticed when I watch like some of these YouTube videos, it's always with a tang. You know, my tang had ick, my tang had ick.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a tang for some reason.
Yeah, I think people tangs are more you know, susceptible to that actual ick because they are easily stressed out. Like the hippo tang specifically gets stressed out very quickly. Anybody who has one knows that when you first put in the tank, it's going to go underneath a rock and you might not see it for a few days. And then they're still skittish and it takes quite a while. And tangs in general seem to be more, you know, apt to get the ick parasite. And I think because it is a bigger fish, it's got the broader sides, people are seeing it more than they are on their clowns or their damsels because those are smaller fish that you have a smaller profile where maybe you're not seeing it as soon. But the reality is if you have ick on one fish, everybody has it in that tank. And the best thing to do is to avoid it altogether by taking the steps to quarantine for the appropriate amount of time, and not cutting those corners, because once you get it in the tank, you basically have to start over to a certain extent, and that's where a lot of people actually leave the hobby. So
correct. Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, no problem, man. Ernest, did you have something for me? I don't know if you're still there. I think I took him off mute, didn't I? Because I know he had an echo. You good there, buddy?
I'm good.
Okay. Did you have anything specifically before I go on to the questions?
No, I'm good. I'm
good? Okay.
I'm just lurking.
Oh, lurking. Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's how we all learn, lurking.
Hey, Travis, I'm back. I guess I lost you when you were talking for a minute there.
Yeah, we lost connection. Yep.
Yes, I got you said something about it's good to have a wooden stone or wood. That you said, right?
Oh, for the added the oxygen to the tank. Yeah, the air stone. Yeah, the wooden air stone seems to be the best because it makes the smallest basically the finest air bubbles, which can break apart within the water, oxygenate the water a little bit quicker. So yeah, I definitely use the wooden air stone. The only problem is in the salt water, I guess it's like this in the freshwater too, that stone gets clogged pretty quickly. So you're going to want to clean it, probably every month at least. I know I took mine out around that and just brushed it off, replaced it as needed. You can look at it over time. You'll see where it clogs up, where it's just not letting enough air out, and then you might just want to replace it at that point.
And what about the power on the power air pump?
Well, the 4-port that I had worked out fine. There'll be a certain point where if you have too much power, the wooden air stone will basically just make a solid line of air, not necessarily aiding in the issue. So having a pump that's just kind of allowing a sufficient amount of air out is fine. I really can't give you exact, gallons per hour or whatever that pump I recommend. I would say get something that has the ability to control it up and down to adjust how much air is coming out of that pump, and that way you can look at the air stone and use a little wheel. I know on the one that I have, this little black wheel on the top that you can adjust the amount of air coming in and out. Let's see here.
Gotcha. Thanks.
The link issue. Dave, 1 second, buddy. Dave Nano's tank. Let me make you a moderator so you could fix the link issue. Is that what we have going on here? Let me do that real quick. Dave's Nano tanks. Okay, man, you should be good to go with that. I'm gonna put the link back in there, and then I guess you're gonna fix it from what I was told via text. So let me know. Welcome everybody. If you're coming in here, hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate it. It does help share the video. And I just put the link in the description if you want to join this chat here. And I guess it's going to be fixed. You can't fix it. Okay. You need to. Okay. While I'm chatting, if you could tell me what I need to do to fix it, we can take care of it. Are there going to be Reef Tank for Veterans t-shirts? Yes, I will get those up and going. I it's kind of one of those last minute things that I still have to do. But yes, there will be the reef tank for veterans. And you guys have been asking me, what tanks am I going to start building first? I got this email a couple times since I posted the video the other day. Yeah, I know I have to fix it, Dave. I just don't know how to fix it. That's kind of where we're at on that. It's kind of something we might have to do off air because I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about. And anyways, yeah. So when it comes to the tanks, I'm going to go with. I'm going to do some all-in-ones first, I guess I'd say for the sake of getting as many done as I can and helping as many people as I possibly can in the shortest amount of time and the least amount of money. So I'm going to do some all-in-ones. I'm probably going to do the 32-gallon BioCube kit with the tank and stand, as well as it has the built-in LED lighting. We'll put some aftermarket quote stuff on those builds. But what's good about those is I can have those drop shipped to any veteran here in the United States. And all I have to do is either drive or fly out to them, meet them, and then go ahead and go through that whole build process. I'll bring the rock and all that kind of stuff. And if I have to, I can have that drop shipped as well. But yeah, we're going to do smaller tanks at first. And I'm going to try to keep each one of my builds underneath $1,000. And, with donations and support from other companies, as well as 10% of all my coral sales, will go towards those bills. So I'm going to try to raise money as quickly as possible. I know from Reef-A-Palooza, I'm going to have a little kind of donation thing set up for you guys to actually specifically donate to that cause. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can see how it goes. Now I keep talking about weird stuff. I keep getting distracted here. You guys should definitely see it from my end. We have all these questions coming in, all the questions here, and then we have the stream stuff. It's kind of got to get back into it after taking the break. So what I'm going to do now, if you guys don't have anything for me here in the Google Hangouts, I'm going to go back through the questions that we have. I still have about 10 more to go through, and we are already 30 minutes in, so we're halfway done. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get onto that. Look at here. We have Texan Boy 22. Are you still a fan of SB Reef lights, or is there something else that you prefer in that price range? Now, you guys know that I've been using SB Reef lights for a few years now. I think it's been about 3 years, I would say, something like that. And I have no issues with them other than the fact that I can't seem to get one to last more than 2 years. The last I had 4 over the 125. And right now, I only have one original one from that's still working. I had the PCB boards burn out. You guys saw those videos. I'm not sure why. It's not like they're getting wet or banged around. They are getting cleaned out. I am spraying them for dust, but there could be something that maybe is internal. I know that some of them I use the PCB boards, and some of them are just the original SB Reef lights, but they do work. They do grow coral. You guys saw that on the 125. I grew all that stuff in a year and a half while that tank was up, and had no issues with them. So they do work. They are, I think, about $130 a piece. Now, I do grow coral underneath the other option that is a little bit cheaper, and that is the Mars Aqua on eBay. I want to say they're $85 to $90 a piece. And the only difference is really that I've noticed, there might be some minor things that I'm not going to pick up here that I haven't realized, but the color temperature of the SB Reef lights is a little bit more of a purple color, and I find that is a little bit more pleasing to the eye. So if you are specifically looking for a purplish, darker bluer tank, and go with the SB Reef lights. But if you're just looking for pure growth and stuff like that, and you want to go the least amount of money, the Mars Aqua will serve the purpose. Now, Davey said, paste the original link, bd.com, copy the shortened version and paste in chat. Okay. I'm gonna have to do that after, man. We got too much going on, but I do get that. I will try it out here in a little bit. So, Texan Boy, hopefully that answers your question regarding the SB Reef lights. No issues, again, except for they don't last over 2 years. Just for me, I might be just that person that they don't last for. And other than that, yeah. So, yeah, I see you guys talking shit. Yeah, I'll have to do the link after. Sorry, guys. It's just too much going on right now. The next question here is a little bit of a longer one. Hey, Hex, I'm building a 300-gallon reef. I already have a 120-gallon fowler running now, and it has plenty of live rock that I plan on using for my 300. I actually did not quarantine my fish in the 120, so I see white spots on my tangs every now and then. So since I have ick on the rock and the 120, I can't transfer it directly to the 300. I also have a quarantine tank set up now. How should I go about quarantining my fish and my rock before putting them in the 300-gallon? I already have the 300-gallon cycling. Okay. So you've already acknowledged the fact that you can't put the rock in that tank. So I'm glad that you took that step already. So the short answer to all this is you're going to have to put the rock in, say, a brute trash can, like I used when I cured my rock for my 300 originally. and you're going to want to let it sit in there with a power head and heat flow, of course, for the next 10 weeks. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to allow the ick parasite to go through its life cycles and die off. Now, because there isn't a host in there like a fish for it to feed on and to continue to multiply, it's going to just simply die over time. Now, that period is usually between 8 and 10 weeks. I always go on the higher end of 10 to 12 weeks because, you know, you're going to wait all that time. What's another couple weeks just to ensure that it's completely taken care of? Now, during that time, you can go ahead and put your fish in your quarantine tank, and then you can either do the hypo salinity, which I do recommend. It's a lot less stressful, and then do that for 4 weeks. Now, if you want to do the copper treatment, it's 2 weeks or 14 days or whatever of copper, and then, of course, do your water changes, and you can redose the copper. But hyposalinity seems to be the best option for me at this point, or you can just do both. Now, I know that your quarantine period for your fish is going to be a lot less than your rock. So you can go ahead and actually put the fish in your main display or your new 300 once they're fully through their quarantine period. And I'm not sure what you're using to start cycling your 300 now. I'm assuming maybe you have a marine pier in the sump, or you have some rock, a new rock or something like that already in the tank. But as long as you have some beneficial bacteria with biological filtration in the tank, you won't have any problems in the next 4 to 6 weeks of adding those fish while you wait for the rest of your rock to finish curing, or better yet, going through that whole process of getting rid of the ick. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any more, regarding that, just go ahead and send them my email. Same process here, and we'll take care of it. All right. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot. I wish I could read all the comments, guys. I do apologize that I can't get there. If you guys are in the comment section here and you know an answer to a question that someone's asking, please answer it to the best of your ability, because I don't really get to all of them, and I just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. All right. The next question here actually has to relate to my previous video where I put up the Nano, what the heck was it? Not the skimmer, but the auto top off, the smart top off there, or the mini one. Basically, is this, would you say this is better than a Tunzi Osmolator Nano, or a safer system? I want to purchase a reliable system for a pretty decent price. Now, it is, I do like the fact that it does, this particular auto top off will turn off when it senses, not getting enough water or it's on too long. That's good that it automatically turns off. Now, it is an optical eye that you need to make sure stays cleaned. So as long as you're taking care of the eye and keeping it clean, you shouldn't have any issues. And one thing I do like about the Tunzi Osmolator, and that's something that I used way before the Apex came out with the ATK, or I found this auto top off, that they have the optical eye as well as the mechanical float valve. So nothing is foolproof. Nothing is, is 100%. So having best of both worlds, I know that the optical eye will actually dictate the water level. But if that was to ever fail, that mechanical float valve or sensor would go ahead and turn off the pump if it ever got that high. So I would say you could use that smart ATO system, but if you're worried, it wouldn't hurt if you have an Apex or something like that already to go ahead and set up a secondary float valve if you want, that would turn off the pump through the Apex to go ahead and make sure you had that in the sump. So that is something you can do outside of that. So hopefully that answers your question, and we're going to move on to the next. All right. Hey, man, what made you go with the marine pier spheres? Did you look at other options like Brightwell or any of those other stuff, any of that other stuff, the cubes? Well, you guys know that I've been using marine pier for a while, and the reason why I decided to go with it again is it's worked in the past, and basically I really wanted to kind of bust this myth that everyone is saying that marine pier leaches, is it aluminum into the water? I believe it's aluminum, and I wanted to bust that with my Chaeto reactor system, that Triton method build, because I'm going to be doing those tests every 3 or 4 months. I'm actually going to do one at the 6-month period. So we're looking at about 3 or 4 months until I do my first one. And I want to see if I'm picking up aluminum from that marine pier block. Now, I'm also going to do those tests on the 300 as well as my 200-gallon frag system, because I want to see if I am actually getting those chemicals consistently from the marine pier block. Now, people say that that's not possible. It's not going to happen. But again, I definitely want to find out through those tests through Triton. So, and the only real reason why I didn't go with any of the other blocks is I just haven't used anything else besides the marine pier. It just works, so I've been sticking with it. All right. The next thing here, we have Bryce. You wanted to talk about the Nano Tank Challenge since that's going on. And I still haven't done a video for that. If you guys are not aware of this, I will be giving an Neptune Apex system, the 2016 version, away to the winner for the US side of things for that Nano Tank challenge. So if you guys want to know more about that challenge, check out Rico's Reef. He's probably in chat here. Rico, say something so people can click on your channel. Or you can just search for him, and you guys can learn more about that challenge. I will be giving that Apex away, and I'm also one of the judges for that. So, so some of the things that you guys have been asking me about this challenge is what can you do to be successful. Now, I can make an entire video strictly about what you can do to be successful with a nano tank, and the main thing that really comes down to is what your filtration is for that smaller tank and how consistent can you keep your water parameters. Because it is a smaller tank, you're going to have to worry about fluctuations with salinity with the auto top-off system. You're going to have to worry about your calcium alkalinity needs and demands based on what you are growing in that tank. So if you have a 30-gallon tank or a 20-gallon long per se or whatever, and you have it stuffed full of acropora, you need to take into consideration how you're going to keep those acropora healthy and at a consistent alkalinity and stable environment. So it really comes down to what equipment you're getting set up on. And now I know a lot of people are going the DIY route. I know there's a channel, I can't quote him right now. Electric. Oh man, does anybody knows his name? If you're in chat, say something. I know he did like a full DIY setup. He built his own skimmer. He did a whole bunch of stuff on that. It looks pretty sweet. If you are in here, say something.
That's not Easy Reefer, is it?
No, it's electric something, man. I gotta.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I want to say it's that. But anyways, he built his own skimmer. He did all this stuff, and you're definitely going to get kudos on my end for putting in that kind of effort for sure. I won't get into right now what I'm looking for in the challenge, but I will say that I really love SPS and Electric Reef. That's it, Billy. Electric Reef. Yeah, he's the one doing the DIY stuff, which is pretty sweet. So you guys should go check him out. But yeah, so you guys know that I love acropora and I love to see that stuff grow. And if you are growing acropora in your nano tank and you're doing very well on that, you're going to get kudos from me for sure, definitely. But yeah, so it all comes down to equipment. What is it going to take? How much you want to spend? The DIY stuff, I really like that. You guys know I love the DIY stuff, but it's all going to come down to what you're putting into the system and how consistent you can keep it. And, that's a lot of people like to pass up on the auto top off systems because they think it's a small tank. They can just go ahead and simply put a cup of water in every day. Well, life happens. Sometimes you forget, and sometimes you forget for a week, not meaning to. Who knows what would happen in your life, and you can lose everything based on just something that simple. So just, I would say, get the basics, and then over time, over the next year, as the challenge is going on, add things like add different lighting, add different kind of chemicals or Triton method or something like that. Try different things, but for the beginning, just start basic, get water in the tank, get that rock cycled, and then, start growing some coral, because the whole point is to grow coral as quickly as possible. So hopefully that kind of helps without going on forever. Thank you, DC Reefer, for the $5, man. I appreciate it. I definitely enjoy helping you guys out, and I love the support that you guys give me here on Patreon and in the live chats here. Check out Alex G if you like DIY stuff. Yeah, I'll check out him. I will write that down now. Is he doing the Nano challenge as well, Curtis? Just you know what I would really love if there wasn't a delay, so I can have actual conversations with you guys without waiting 20 seconds. But yeah, all right. So we're gonna move down to more questions here. We already talked about the copper with SC Reefer, and going down. And then Jason wants to know, what level nitrates do I prefer? And I hate getting this question because I don't test nitrates anymore. I just stopped. I stopped about a year and a half ago. I just stopped testing them. I really go off of polyp extension on acropora. I find that if you have too little nitrates, you're not going to get that polyp extension. If you have way too much, the coral's going to start getting a little darker. The polyp extension might not be as great. And in some instances with some of these millies, you get a lot of polyp extension, but the coral's really dark based on the extra nutrients. So I don't really test it. And I know that's not a very good answer. And that's definitely not something that's helpful for you guys. But I really just go off of what the coral is looking like and how the tank is reacting. Oh, I have a few minutes. I am in my live stream. Sorry, I can't pick up that phone call. I wish I could, though. Anyways, oh, we got somebody here. Did the link work? Corey, what's up, man? Link's working. That's good. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, he's not here anymore. Hopefully he comes back. All right, so we are at 20 minutes left, and I went through all the questions that I had right there. So if you guys have any questions specifically you want answered, please put them in the live chat now. I do want to mention a little bit about Reef-A-Palooza because you guys have been asking me questions while you guys are getting to those questions here. Reef-A-Palooza is in June. It's in New York. We will have our own booth. It's going to be me, and I'm going to have Billy there. Scott's going to be there. I'm going to have 4 2x2 by I think 8 or 10 inch frag tanks. I'm going to have XR15 over each one of them. They're going to be acrylic, and I'm going to have them plumbed together at the moment into one sump underneath the table. That's kind of the overall plan. I will be bringing about 500 Acropora frags, strictly Acropora. I do want to bring some other stuff because I've been getting requests for some Zoas and some of that easier stuff. So I will just adjust fire and get some of that stuff right before the swap just because you guys are requesting it. I will have equipment. Basically, I'm going to buy some wholesale equipment, have that stuff for sale. I'm going to have the Reef Tank for Veterans donations. Hopefully, you guys will come out and introduce yourself. That would be awesome. I have yet to meet most of you guys. A lot of you do come up during the swaps and say hi, which is awesome. On top of that, we're going to have a giant, I'm going to have like 3,000 frag plugs in a container, and you guys are going to be able to pick out what you want. I think it will probably do like 20 cents a piece or something like that, or you get free plugs with your core order or something like that. But it's going to have we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff there. I know Billy's going to be bringing equipment. We're going to have a television. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be kind of like our area. You guys can come hang out. Now, I've never been to a Reef-A-Palooza, so I don't really know what kind of area we are dealing with. I did watch some videos, but they don't really give you the grand scheme of what you're dealing with and how much space you have. And I know that one thing that I feel that I will struggle with that I already do on these smaller swaps is having the time to, have conversations with people. The last thing I want to do is feel like I'm rushing people along. And now that things are kind of taking off for the channel, I find it to be difficult to sit down and actually, when multiple people want to talk, it's just difficult to have those conversations without, I feel, offending people or making them feel like I don't want to continue to talk. So I don't know how that's going to be with all the people, or I think there's like 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 people that will be coming through. Of course, not everybody knows me, but I do plan on talking to a lot of you, and I just got to figure out how I'm going to do that and sell coral at the same time. I'm probably going to have to bring people with me to kind of be my right-hand man or something like that for that. So enough rambling about that. I see some questions came in. Let me scroll up. Let me see. Anthony says, how do you know when you need to start dosing a tank? How many corals and such? Anthony, when it comes to dosing a tank, I mentioned this previously. You want to monitor your alkalinity over a period of time. So say you do a water change on a Sunday, and you Monday morning, you go ahead and test your tank, your alkalinity, and your calcium. Now, I personally only test alkalinity, and I'll get to that here in a second. But you say it's at 9.5. Now, you don't do your water change for another 2 weeks. Say you have, LPS, a couple SPS, stuff like that in the tank. Now, you can test your alkalinity a week in and see where it's at, see what it drops to, or you can test it the night before you do your next water change. Say it goes from that 9.5 down to, say, 7.5 over that 2-week period. Well, that means that the tank is using more calcium and alkalinity over that 2-week period than it can keep up with just on that single water change. So there's a couple things you can do. You can either go from a bi-weekly water change to a weekly water change, and that will basically keep the the alkalinity and stuff like that elevated a little bit better, just being a 10% opposed to a 20%. Kind of see how that works. Or you can start dosing 2-part or Kalkwasser. Now, I personally like the 2-part because it's easy to adjust, and you just put on the dosing pump and make your adjustments as you go. Now that we can go into what you should start dosing, how many milliliters of both per water or per gallon. Now, I do have a link that I will get for you guys when I do that video on dosing that goes into more detail on what you should do. But the rule of thumb is 15 milliliters of both calcium and alkalinity every day per 25 gallons of water per that system. Now, that's based on a medium stock tank of a little bit of SPS, mostly LPS, and of course, softies don't do anything with that. If you have a big old fat clam in there, of course, he's going to pull out more than the average coral, so just take that into consideration. Now, say you want to keep from that 7 alkalinity up to that 9.5 that you've dropped over that 2 weeks. So you can go ahead and start doing your daily doses via water or via the dosing pump, or you can do it manually. Now, I usually stop dosing manually once I get over 40 milliliters, because you find that if you're dosing too much at one time, even if you split it up, in the morning or at night, you'll end up getting these big fluctuations in alkalinity, which are just not good for the tank. And yeah, so basically go ahead and start dosing every day, that 15 milliliters per 25 gallons of water, and test in like 4 or 5 days to see where your alkalinity is at. If your alkalinity was originally at 9.5 and you dosed every day and it's only at 9.2, that's fine. You don't have to make any adjustments. Just keep dosing as normal. But say you were at 9.5 and it went down to like 8.5 in just 3 or 4 days. Well, that means that your tank is using up more than you're dosing currently. So adjust your dose up by 5 or 10 milliliters of both, and make sure you're dosing equal parts calcium and alkalinity, and then just repeat the process until the system balances out. And now at that point, you can set up on a dosing pump and just let it go. And then once you do, I test alkalinity once a month on all my systems, and then base, my adjustments for that system off that one time. Now that's on a stable stock tank. When you start something new, like a Triton method, or you're just building a new reef tank, of course, dose or test more often. That way you can make those adjustments sooner. But yeah, let it go, make the adjustments, and then just let it even out, and then test every month. And then if it drops down a little bit more, just increase by 5 or 10 milliliters and let it keep going. And that's about it. That kind of sums up the whole dosing. I think I went a little bit farther on that question, so hopefully it helps, Anthony. Let's see. Let me scroll down here. Tunes Oscillator Nano experience. If you guys seen my previous videos on the 125, if like way back when that loud ass pump always kicked on whenever I was trying to say something, that's the Nano pump. And the only reason why it actually really got that loud was because I used it in Kalkwasser. And even though I had it elevated off the bottom of the Kalkwasser barrel, it still chewed the crap out of that pump. So, but it worked out great. I used it for 2 years on the 125. And besides the occasional snail getting stuck in the float valve and causing it to stay on, there was no issues other than that. All right, growing down. Jordan asks, I really want to know... Shit, I definitely just scrolled past that. Give me a second, man. That was dumb. Let me scroll up. I really want to know if the Triton method is working. Also, how is the Chaeto reactor working? Jordan, I will be doing an update for the Chaeto reactor in the next week, but it is definitely working. Triton method is rock solid right now. The only issue I have, which I am going to be fixing once my dosing pump gets here, is that I have to dose 6 milliliters. Actually, I'm at 7 milliliters of all 4 additives every day. And the problem is I only dose once a day. So you're not supposed to dose over 3 milliliters at one time, because you get the big fluctuation in alkalinity. So because of my schedule, I can only dose once a day, and I'm getting those fluctuations causing a little bit of stress on the acropora. But other than that, it's fine. So once I get everything on the dosing pump, I foresee the tank starting to take off a little bit better because I'm not getting those fluctuations. But I will say, without a doubt, I haven't done a water change in 2 months on that Chaeto build. And I went from half inch or under acropora frags, and I'm looking at 3.5, almost 4 inches on my biggest acro. So you're looking at about 3 inches of growth in 2 months with no water changes on a system that I've never tried before, or a method that I've never tried before. So it's definitely working. I will say another thing about the Triton method is, if you're going to use the GFO, like from BRS GFO, make sure that you use a very small amount, not even rated for your tank. Go under your water volume, because even though I was using the rated amount, my Chaeto reactor just stopped growing, and it just didn't make any sense. So I went ahead and actually removed the GFO altogether, and then just strictly leave the recommended amount of carbon in there, and actually slightly under the recommended amount of carbon. And the Chaeto reactor just started taking off and growing again. So just keep an eye on that. If you find that the reactor's not growing, it's probably your GFO. I do feed a block of mysis every single day, and I do kind of mix it up with bloodworms. That seems to be a new favorite for the clownfish. So they really like the bloodworms from Pecco that are frozen there. And yeah, so I am feeding the tank plenty. I do have the blue Linkus starfish in there, the 2 clowns, and 3 or 4 hermit crabs, and that's it for stocking on that. No algae issues. I will say that the microfauna portion with the cocopods and amphipods is very, very. I guess the word I'm looking for is very full. There's a lot of life in there. Now, if you guys want to know what else I'm dosing for that system, there is a little secret that I dose on all my tanks that I have displays on, and I always use the Coral Vitalizer from Zeovit. I use that on all my tanks. I dose it every night, and I also use Sponge Power on all my tanks. So I'm dosing right now 1 to 2 drops of Sponge Power in that system, and 2 to 4 drops of Coral Vitalizer in that system every night. And I also do target feed with Reef Chili once a week, and that's it. I don't really go overboard on any of that stuff. And don't say. Sorry, I'm just getting some text here I'm trying to take care of. Anyways, yeah, so I am dosing those 2 things on top of the Triton method, and it's working perfectly. I have 0 regrets, and I love it. And I'm only debating now if I want to actually transition my Triton method over to my frag system, just because it's so consistent. Now, the only reason why I'm kind of avoiding that is because 1 week I can have 100 acropora, and the next week I can have 20 acropora, and then there's that difference in usage of 2-part basically, or of alkalinity and calcium. Now, the thing with Triton method is you have to be consistent. Try to be a consistent alkalinity of 7 or 8, depending on what formula you are using. And with a frag tank, you have those fluctuations, and I don't think it's going to work out well long term for the coral. So I might just switch to a calcium reactor or something like that, because 2-part tends to be a little bit of a pain in the butt at the moment. And let's see here.
Trevor, what was again that you the Coral Vitalizer, and what else that you put in there?
I use Coral Vitalizer and Sponge Power. That's something I've used in all of my tanks from the beginning. Let's see. We have Corey. What's up, man?
Not much. What's going on, Travis?
Not much. You have anything for me? I'm just going through questions here in the live chat. If you have anything for me, we can definitely take care of that.
No, I was just listening in tonight.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I just wanted to, I'll give you guys an opportunity first, just to make sure we take care of you guys. That's all.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
There's no problem, man. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. So, Jordan, hopefully that answered your question. I will have an update video on the Triton method build here soon. And, oh, yeah, somebody asked me, why is the name so long? So, it's 30-gallon Triton method Chaeto reactor build. And the only reason why that's that long is because it's kind of fun to say over and over again when I'm trying to record my videos. And I have to re-say it over again because I keep messing it up. It's just kind of entertaining. So that's all. Let's see. Let's scroll down. Big white dot on my bristle-tooth tang's head, kind of between his eyes. Don't know what it is. Big white dot. Are we looking at, is it damage? Is it scar tissue? Does it look like, is there any other spots anywhere else on there? I just, maybe it's a parasite. Is it did you quarantine this fish? Is there any new fish added? And that's for you, your fellow reefer. If you can answer any of those questions, I'm scrolling down, so hopefully I can catch them. All right. Eric, thanks for the super chat, man. I'm still scrolling down. I'm actually still up a little bit in the chat. So if anybody has stuff coming in, I'm not getting it right away. Let's see here. All right. Let's go ahead and go down a little bit more. Yep, Toonsy, everybody loves that. Scrolling down again. Thanks for that super chat, Eric. I just did it again. I just scrolled all the way down to the bottom, screwed up the whole thing. Sorry, guys. I just missed like 30 questions. That just, yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. I can't scroll apparently. Let's see here. Yeah, we definitely want to keep at a consistent DKH with that Triton method. If you try to fluctuate between 7 and like 9 or 10 with the Triton method, I did notice that the acropora closed up and they just did not like that fluctuation. So, and they do recommend to keep it low into the 7.5 range. And I've actually been keeping mine at 8 because it just seems to be good for what I got going on. But yeah, no fluctuations with the Triton method. If you can, help it out, if you can actually prevent it. Billy, text Travis my number so he can set up the call. I don't know what that means. Don't I have your number, Roscoe? Don't I have it? Or do you not have that phone anymore? All right, so Tina says, I'm still learning how to test using the Red Sea test. So far as everything's working out, seems to be higher. Yeah, I know that we recommended, or I talked to you a while back about getting the Red Sea test kits. Everybody keeps asking me what kits that I use for testing. I have to get this video done. It's on the list as well. Red Sea is for my calcium and my if you decide to test pH, I would use the Red Sea for that. But so for my calcium and my magnesium, that's what I use Red Sea for. Now I always use the HANA checker for alkalinity because, as I mentioned before, the alkalinity is the most important water parameter for me, specifically for SPS stuff. If you can keep a consistent, stable alkalinity, everything else will fall into place, especially if you're dosing equal parts or using a calcium reactor, that kind of stuff. Let me see here. Let me just make sure that's good. All right. So hopefully, yeah, that if anybody's asking about the questions regarding my kits and what I use for testing, that's basically it. I don't mind, guys. I don't mind answering the same question every live stream. It's fine. You guys don't have to worry about that. If you have a question and you just missed it before, don't be afraid to ask it. And if you think it's a dumb question, it doesn't matter. Just ask your question. I'm not gonna bite you or anything. All right. All right. So we have 7 minutes left. You guys have been following me on Instagram or the Patreon stuff. You guys know that I have a couple projects coming up. We have a client build going on. It's actually a 75-gallon tank upstairs. We drilled through his brand new floor all the way to the basement. And we're going to be adding a custom 55-gallon sump, kind of something similar to what I had on my 125. And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff with that. I'm definitely looking forward to that build. I really like the builds where I have all the sump and the auto top off and the ATO, all that kind of stuff in the basement, and it's nowhere near anything else, and you can just kind of have your own thing. I wish I had that set up here, but it's all down here, unfortunately. And then we have I have a buddy, I don't know if he's here, JD. We're going to be building his 40-gallon breeder. I know it's the $1 per gallon still here in Pennsylvania, so this is the time where people are always building new tanks. And yeah, so I'll be drilling, setting with the overflow box, painting that tank, getting it ready for him, and hopefully I'll show you guys that whole process here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, I think we're good. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of questions coming in, a lot of back and forth stuff on, and I don't want to keep interrupting that, but yeah. Anyways, guys, I think that's about it. I think I covered everything. Do you guys have anything for me here in the video? Oh shit, I got a whole bunch of questions here on the. Well, okay, 1 second. 1, 2, 3. I got like 6 emails. Oof, okay. Well, you guys have anything for me while I look through these emails real quick to see, because I did not see these come in for whatever reason. Tina, you had a question for me. I'm going to go ahead and check it out here real quick. So, hey, Travis, I want to know what you would suggest for me to convert my 55-gallon hang-on-the-back filtration to a sump system without drilling my acrylic tank. I would like to try this before getting the next system. I already know what you think about hang-on-the-back overflows. Yeah, but what would work for me? All right, so that's my chair squeaking there. All right, so I don't like to set people up for failure, and I'll be completely honest with you. The hang-on-the-back overflows will fail eventually. You can have the hydro pump or whatever the heck you want to call it, the aqua lifter pump. It's going to fail eventually. It just always does every single time, and it always happens while you're not home. And yeah, and then you have water pouring over the place. It's nasty. I would say don't try to convert it yet. I mean, you've gone this long with your hang-on-the-back filtration. Just leave it as is until you get your new system. Unless you're willing to drill the tank and add an overflow box, don't bother messing with it. The hang-on-the-back stuff is just not. It's just not worth the risk. I know a lot of people kind of give me shit about that, but it's better safe than sorry, especially when you invest all that money into your system. So I would say wait, get your new system, and make sure it's either drilled or have somebody drill it for you to set up the whole box and stuff. Man, I'm burping the shit tonight. I ate too much food before the stream. Let's go. I got enough time for 2 more questions, and I think that's it. Live stream question. Ooh, it's a live stream paragraph. Okay. I love paragraphs. I just don't like them during live streams. I gotta kind of organize it here. I've been dealing with some type of algae bloom for weeks. I think that it's a die time, but I'm not sure. My tank is a 75-gallon with live rock, wet dry sump, oversized skimmer, dual reactors, 1 GFO, 1 carbon, 1 ATO, an ATO. I use RODI water made at home with 0 TDS. I've never used anything other than RODI. I have about 25% water changed once a month. I have had my tank for 3 years. I have 2 Kessels set at 8-hour life cycles. I feed 1 time per day, 1 cube of mysis, and something similar. Thanks. Try to give you as much information as possible. I appreciate that, man. Okay, so you say you have like a diatom bloom. Now, has anything changed with the tank? Have you added any more fish? Have you been trying a different type of mysis? Are you not rinsing the mysis anymore? Are the fish eating all the food? water change wise, what are you keeping your barrel, your water barrels, or did you change that up? Is there anything in your equipment that you changed? Because if you guys have been watching for a while, the original 255-gallon barrels that I had for my RODI system actually leached TDS into my RODI water, which I thought was 0 TDS, and actually turned out to be like 15, 20, 30 TDS after the barrels leached. So if you haven't changed anything, it's got to be your feeding habits. It's got to be something with that. If it's a diatom bloom, I wouldn't worry about it. I know that tanks go through cycles over time. There's always changes and things that are, as the tank matures. Being 3 years old, if you're not having a full out outbreak in any kind of algae, I wouldn't sweat it. If you're not having any kind of bacteria films or blooms or anything like that, again, I wouldn't worry about it. Just double check your feeding habits, anything that's changed, and reply to this email, or if you can hear me, just go ahead and reply to the questions that I've given you now via email, and I'll get back to you once that comes in. Okay. So we are about done. I did get a few more questions in. We're gonna have to save those for the next stream, or I could just hit you up on the private side here via email. Now I'm gonna go ahead and leave up my email for questions throughout the week. If you have any, just title it live stream question, put it in there. But understand that the Patreons and stuff like that, those guys all come first. So if somebody comes in here at Patreon that has 400 questions for me, I'm going to answer 400 questions, and then we'll just kind of have to back everything up to the next episode or next live stream. But yeah, so if you guys are interested in being part of this live stream and the Hangout stuff, check out the Patreon link in the description below. I will put a Reef Tank for Veterans donation link eventually, guys. I know that I have reeftankforveterans@gmail.com for PayPal if you guys want to donate that. And I'm just trying to figure out a way that I can do a reward system, because I don't want to take something and not give you something in return and then just wait for the next build to come up. I want to find out a way to make this so, hey, you donate a certain amount of money, hey, you get a t-shirt that says Reef Tank for Veterans or something like that. That's what I got to work out, and that's what I'm doing here on my own end, and I will have it taken care of within the next month or so. All right. Anyway, guys, that's it for the live stream. My tank is shutting off, so it's getting a little bit darker there. I will be here next Wednesday, and we will continue this whole process, and I'll have a few more videos out for you guys before then. All right. I appreciate everybody stopping by, and appreciate it, guys. And I'll see you next week.
Yep.
Hey, Billy.
All right, man. Later.
All right. Take care.
Hey, Billy.